Hey, welcome to Galvanize. It's a Monday morning, and I don't know about you, but we've had a rough trying to get caffeinated, get going, you got beat up a little bit on the weekend, I got beat up a little bit on the weekend. And so the stuff that we probably want to talk about today is how to just stay the course, right? How to keep on the course when you're just, it seems like you're busting your ass, and I don't know about you, but sometimes I work in sprints. I feel like I'm on a 5-week sprint that's demanding another 5 weeks, right? Mm-hmm. And I can't push through that breakthrough, and all the effective change I've been trying to make in the organization, it's kind of just pushing there. So I was reading, kind of doing devotional, and I really think it comes down to do you have the patience to stay the course? So talk to us about how does that affected you? Because I know you were going through some stuff
here. With our business, we're a wholesaling business, and when you're a wholesaling business, you spend quite a bit of money monthly on marketing.
Yep.
And and marketing typically as a business owner, outside of your payroll, is probably your second largest
managed controllable we have.
Correct.
Right. Yep.
Correct. Mm-hmm. And in a very competitive market that we're in, it's costing a lot of money, for us to buy a house.
Yep.
And so when we talk about staying the course, we see everything, this time last year, it was cheaper for us to buy a house, and the month before it was cheaper. The year before it's cheaper for us to buy a house.
Yep. The market's got better.
It's gotten better.
It's gotten better.
Sellers are very stingy on what they want. They think their house is worth $1 million bucks,
and they got educated.
And maybe educated, or just their neighbor says their house is worth this, and their other neighbor says the house is worth this, and you shouldn't sell it for anything less than that. And it's like, listen, your house is not what your neighbor's house is, and here's why. But anyway. So, when we talk about staying the course, I think marketing is one of those pieces that is, in some ways, when things start getting hard, is the first to go. And it really shouldn't be.
Yeah.
And it's usually it keeps the wheel going. So
well, it's one of those things where there's a domino effect of marketing, and you're 6 dominoes down. And one of my favorite analogies in business is there's this little domino that knocks down a domino that's 1 1/4 the size of that domino, that knocks down a domino 1 1/4 of that size. And when you get down to it, there's 18 dominoes, and it knocks down a 6-foot 300-pound domino, right? And that's what we do in business. We make little decisions now that are going to knock down and create big results. And marketing is one of those things where it's very easy to just look at the first little domino and go, let's kill that as an expense,
or let's reduce it,
or let's
reduce the cost.
Yeah, because what we can't see that impact now. Right, and in business, you got to make decisions that you're trusting from the long term because you've studied and done the due diligence and you believe in what it's going to make happen. We're going through that right now in rolling up companies. We're not seeing the net benefit of having all those people in time. And I was talking to a private equity guy, and he's a buddy of mine that's given us some mentoring, and he goes, you know what, you guys are exactly where you need to be. He goes, it always hurts. The changes, it takes a while to get the teams to gel. It takes a while to see the cross marketing effect, the synergy. He said, you're actually doing pretty good when I gave him the data. And I think what happens, Dustin, and this is just really, I think this is for everybody out there, we have in our mind the way we wanted it to be. We have this image of what our plan is supposed to create, right? The outcomes. And what's that? Tell God about your plans, right? I mean, that's that old joke, right? The other one is all battle plans are great until they meet the enemy.
Right.
And I think that's really what we have to do is we have to have agility of mind, and we have to stay the course, right? I mean, that's kind of what we've been talking about.
Yeah, and I think the only way for you to stay the course on something like that is to have process and systems and tracking. And so that way okay, this is what we spend. And this is what results per lead based off what we spend, and then the cost. What's it cost to buy a house? What's the cost per appointment? And so if you track all that, and you still, sometimes you may have to increase your marketing budget, and that's the hardest thing for somebody as a business owner to do. Okay, well, we have 3 years of track record here. If you're tracking everything as a business owner, and the track record says, last year it cost us this. 2018 cost us this, and 2019 is another $5,000 on top of that. And so, I think that's why it's, we've talked about in the past episodes about systems and processes, and I think with marketing, that's ultra super important to have that, so you know where the money's going and why it's going there.
Well, I tell you, one of the most important things that people really don't understand in business is their cost of acquisition, right?
Yeah.
I've talked to guys who run 30, 40, 50, $100 million companies, and they really don't know what it is. Marketing is an afterthought. They built the organization. They know that a lot of times they'll think of marketing as a pretty front end to whatever they're selling. And that's not cost of acquisition. Cost of acquisition is every dollar you spend on marketing plus every dollar you spend in acquiring the sale, which is the time, the energy of ops, of sales, of the CEO, of the executive team, of leadership, whatever. All that goes into the cost of acquisition, right? If you're a private equity fund or if you're a VC, the way they value your company is they look at what dollars are we spending on cost of acquisition and what dollars does that create in LTV? Right. The ultimate banking formula for how to look at a business, right? But to your point, if you're, when we're talking like guys in real estate, yes, they're spending this type of money in cost of acquisition, but the money that they're making is doing this, or it's coming up proportionally. So the ratios have stayed the same, right? And I think that's what's really to spend is your ratios are maintaining. And your margins are good, then Katie bar the doors. When those start to come down, then you look at different ways to do cost of acquisition, and that's one of the things that you've been on the path of doing, and we've been helping you develop. And I think that's kind of what we're getting to. It's like if you believe in God and data, right? I mean, know your data, know what the data of your business is showing you. I mean, and that's really a lot of us live thinking we're doing really well on something or feeling like we've been doing the same things, and we don't look at it really objectively. Is that fair?
Absolutely. And that's the hardest thing to look at too, because you're kind of looking at yourself in the mirror when you start diving in that deep into your business, and that's always a scary thing to do. It
kind of comes down to why do we defend that, right? Because we want to defend we've been working hard. We wanted to defend that we've been making good decisions. We want to defend that we know what we're doing, and so the ego really defends the decisions.
Right.
And it's the more you can separate that the data from the day to day. Right, and to just say, are we doing the right thing? Because I will argue that things sneak up in businesses all the time that affect the data. Right, I mean, we were working with a large nonprofit. They had data back that said that they weren't attracting millennials anymore to work in their environment. Right. And so everybody assumed that this was the data. But when we broke it down and we tracked back through the data, there was actually one manager that had transferred to about 8 stores that was pissing off everybody that was under 30 years of age. And she just didn't like them, right? And it was like the data had skewed their mind to understand that there was a problem that wasn't there, though, right? And I think some of that is just getting into the numbers and really understanding what is that data telling you, too.
Sure.
So knowing the way the political climate is affecting your market, what do you see coming? Tell us what is the data telling you?
I think right now there's a big push on interest rates, and we've obviously lowered them after we raised them, and Trump's pushing to lower them again.
Yep.
And if that happens, then I think you could see the fact of the matter is there's a large shortage of inventory out there, and so interest rates affect a lot of different things. But you would think that would have helped the housing market. What it does is it should kick our GDP. Right now we're hitting at about 2.5% growth. If they lower it again, it should jump it back up to 3.5% growth, which I think will definitely keep our economy cooking. So it's a good and bad thing for us, as an investor.
Cost goes up.
Cost goes up again, and so I think as an investor, I think all of us are looking for maybe a pullback. It kind of sets everybody's expectations back to reality. So we'll see what happens. I think what's big is to have some cash on the sidelines and be ready for an adjustment. But if you don't plan on that, then it happens, and it's just kind of your fault as a business owner to not be prepared for that.
I mean, it can only grow for so long before there's going to be an adjustment. One of the things that you've been working on in the business is really decommoditizing, getting out of the numbers side of what the business is about, right? Being able to compete for a seller's home, being able to compete for investor dollars. How's that evolution going? Where do you see the company going?
I guess the company, we're going to keep doing what we're doing. I think when you talk about motivated sellers, and you talk about marketing investments, what we've seemed to forget is when we go out and meet with a motivated seller. I'm going to kind of go off track a little bit from your question, but I think what we've got to get really good at is on the sales side, and understand that in this day and age, it's not about the percentages we buy at. It's about motivation.
Yeah.
It's about the motivation of a seller.
Yeah.
And that's what you got to go in with when you go present an offer.
Solve a problem.
Solving a problem, yeah. It's the motivation of the seller. It's not just, okay, I'm having you out here because I'm interested in selling, as opposed to I'm having you out here because I have a serious problem.
Well, I mean, one of the things that you've done is just really, and I was trying to get you there, but I think you went there better than I did. I think what we've started looking at the business differently is, rather than being a middleman in between the somebody who's looking to get out of their home and find a way to do it fast.
We're just going straight to the source.
We're going to the source, and you're actually helping them solve their problems. I mean, you're working with them to create a return on impact of the time and effort and energy it takes to get out of their home at that point in time, and the benefits to their lives, which is totally different than when the original paradigm that we started the business with, right? I mean, and I see this, one of the things that I try to teach our clients is look, if you're in a commodity industry, you have to draw a line on the sand and start to think strategically. And it doesn't mean that those changes that you're going to do the business are transformational day one. Yeah. It doesn't mean that you're gonna offer a new offering to your clients. It means that you start to change the experience of the people that you sell to or you buy from, and that's really what you've been doing. It's coming at it with a different paradigm to build the business, to grow the business, and I think that's what started. And as you start to catch momentum with those little changes, they start to create big changes, and those big changes create differentiation, right? And the most important thing to do as a business is to be different than everybody else. The human brain is lazy. Okay, and as soon as I can stick you in a box, I don't have to pay attention to you anymore. And if I don't pay attention to you, then I'm not going to buy from you, right? I mean, there's several payments people make. They pay you with attention, they pay you with time, and then eventually they pay you with money, right? But if you can't get them to pay attention, then you're already there. Well, things that are different, things that I can't put in the box, those are the things that I have to grow light to, to see. And so what you're starting to do is create that differentiation that allows you to look different, to feel different from the people on both sides of the business.
Right.
And that's one of the reasons you're growing, right? And I think that's important for other business owners to say, well, if you say that I'm in a commodity industry and it's all about price, you've already lost. You have to come back to it and get strategic. Is that fair?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, thanks so much for checking us out. We'll catch you on the next Monday.